how do we give biblical advice to people who don't believe in the Bible or what it teaches?
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep mine brief, Chad, so you can have more time with this. So it's funny. I think I would lead off with where Matthew just ended with relationship, because you're not going to convince anybody of anything unless you actually have a relationship with them. People need to know that you care about them on multiple levels, not just spiritually, although that is definitely a part of it, but on multiple levels. And then I think as you build that relationship and you invest that care and that time with them, now you can get to kind of the second part, which is actually having the conversation. But even in this, once you get to know someone and you've spent time caring about them, one, they're going to want to lean in and listen a little bit more to what you have to say. But two, now you actually know how to approach the subject, because everyone is different. So you can't explain truth to someone in the exact same way that you just have with someone else. And so over time, you're going to find out, is this person more academically bent? Then maybe you need to take an apologetic approach, which, by the way, does not mean you apologize for your faith. It just means that you answer some of those big, deep questions. Who is God? Why do we have the problem of pain? And those kinds of things. That might be the way that they need to be approached. Or are they a little bit more scientifically minded? Do they need actual factual data? Do you need to do your homework and find extra biblical resources that, point to the creation or point to the flood or point to the resurrection of Jesus or whatever it is? Or are they more experiential? Do they need to feel something to believe that this is true? Then maybe you need to share your story with them, or a faith story of somebody else. It's really hard to deny. So I think for me, that's where I would lead, is you have to get to know these people before you just start spouting off scripture and faith issues with them, because they're not gonna be able to hear it. They don't have a context for it, and they don't really have a context for you. So get to know them, spend the time, and then as you get to know them, try to navigate, okay, what's going to be the best approach? What are they going to be able to hear well?
Chad, can I jump in real quick?
Go ahead.
I don't know that you're going to toot your own horn, so to speak. So I just want to say, one of the reasons, one of the things I think is unique about you as a professor of apologetics and philosophy, and a minister, really, you ministered in multiple states in various capacities, is you don't just stay disconnected. You have multiple long-term friendships with atheists that you met on Twitter, that you dialogue with. And not that you have to answer it in specifically that context, but I think that's always been an interesting part of your ministry for all of us to watch and just to see taking place.
I mean, this sounds really basic, but and this is connected to the previous question that you just asked. So much of it is based on trust and relationship. And so I'm willing to hear disagreement from you. I'm willing to hear different ideas or pushback from you if you're a person that I trust, if you're a person that I know has my best interest at heart. So when I interact with skeptics, I know that's got to be the first step, is I've got to establish some level of trust, that I'm not a person that just wants to dunk on them. I'm not a person that just wants to demean them. I'm not a person that's interested just in winning an argument or a debate. I think on a basic level, it starts with seeing each other as complex, as often contradictory, very nuanced human beings. Just understanding the complexity of dealing with a human being, not with just an idea. You're not an idea, you're a human being. Right. And when you're talking to human beings, you've got to find common ground. What are the things that we can agree on? And then once we establish these are the things that we can agree on, how can we move the conversation forward from that? And so, and this was Paul's strategy. If you read through the book of Acts, this is what he was consistently about, was just kind of finding that common ground with whatever audience he was talking to at the time. One of the things I tell my apologetics classes is when I'm dealing with a person that rejects the Bible and maybe just rejects God outright, one of my favorite approaches is that I will agree with you until I have to disagree with you. So rather than going into the conversation with fists up, ready to fight every single moment, I'm actually going to go into the conversation prepared to agree with you until we reach the moment in the conversation where I have to disagree with you. Because what I've done then is I've established some common ground, I've established some trust, and now they can understand that we're both human beings trying to come at a complex issue together, and this is, and so this is my perspective on it. I think another thing too, Beth, is that even for people that have rejected the Bible, we can inject Bible into conversations without them really even realizing it. You know, I think of like Psalm 34, taste and see that the Lord is good. You know, just showing people the outcome of faith, showing people the goodness of God in your life and other people's lives, like just showing that to them, demonstrating to them. I also I like to start with Jesus. You know, I haven't met too many skeptics. There are some, but I haven't met too many skeptics that are just like, oh, that Jesus guy, whatever. Like he's got nothing.
Terrible guy.
There usually is some sort of loyalty or affinity or respect to the things that Jesus has said. So I just kind of like to start with Jesus, some things that Jesus has taught us, some things that Jesus has taught me. Again, just for the effort of trying to establish and find what is the common ground that we can work from.
And for those watching, I want us to just recognize and label what this is. Like, this is loving our neighbor, right? I mean, that's what that is. Of not just thinking about how we can get the upper hand in something, right? Or trying to go in with our hands up, but saying, no, I want to love you to the best of my ability. So I'm going to communicate to you the way that you can actually hear it, right? So I just want us to, two greatest commandments: love God, love neighbor. And that's what we're talking about here, is can we love our neighbor efficiently? And,
It's good. It's good words. Okay.